Hi, I'm Jeff Benedict, President of Accomplished Quilting, and I'd like to explain to you today about the Innova machines being cleaner because of the advanced technology in them than other machines that require top arm oiling on the machine. The Innova machine uses sealed bearings. I've got an example here of a sealed bearing that's used in the Innova. And you can see there's a shaft here with the bearing. That bearing is sealed so that the lubricant is in there for life, and the bearing doesn't have to have oil added to it. So it's clean, everything's sealed, no oil can seep out and get on any surfaces that your quilt could be subjected to exposure to oil. Now, compared to the Innova machine with sealed bearings that I showed you, some machines on the market use an older technology called the shaft and bushing. In this instance, this is a steel bushing that fits around the needle bar shaft, and as the needle bar goes up and down in the bushing, it needs an oil layer to be present to lubricate that interface so that one doesn't wear out the other. When you buy a machine, before you buy it, it's really worth looking into the requirements to maintain that machine. In addition to the top arm oiling that can be involved, there's other things. Here's an example of a machine that requires on a monthly basis that you loosen this screw and slide this plate out of the way, and then you go in and there's a set of gears here, there's another plate down here. On a monthly basis, you're to open this up and go in here and spread the grease that's on the inside on the gears, then rotate the machine a little bit and take that grease and spread more of it on the back side of the gears. I guess evidently it comes off out of position when you're sewing. But ladies, once a month, do you want to do that? What's clean about that? Another thing on the Innova machines is our needle bar bushings are oil free. Use special coatings that have a long life, that are on the needle bar and the needle bar housing, run lubricant free, so you never have any oil dripping down and potentially getting on your quilt or coming off the needle onto the quilt. If you look at people's machines in the field, when you're visiting quilt shops that have machines, if it has top arm oiling, you're very likely to see where they've tied a piece of batting around the needle bar to absorb the oil that's dripping down to prevent it from getting on the quilts. Other machines on the market, instead of using a steel bushing, use a shorter life brass bushing. This brass bushing fits around a shaft. It can be around a needle bar shaft. It can also be around the upper and lower arm shafts on the machine that are spinning. If it's a spinning shaft, they can also have bushings, and in order to get enough oil to the bushings to keep that shaft turning freely, you have to continually feed oil through various oil points on the machine, and ultimately that oil comes through the system out of the machine and ends up in spots that you don't want it. So as you look at other machines out there on the market and see them in the field at a friend's house or in a quilt shop, take a look at them and see what kind of things they're doing to manage that oil problem. You'll hear of people that do things called diapering their machine in order to have the machine parked at the end of the table. When they're not using it, they'll put a bunch of batting, or they'll put a Rubbermaid container on the floor behind it to catch the oil that drips off the machine. You know, and like this machine has dripped out oil where it sat, but it can do that while it's operating. And now that's incumbent on you as the quilter to clean that up before you take your quilt off or put the next one on, for fear that you might drag your quilt fabric or worse yet, your customer's quilting fabric through that oil. So we've designed the Innova machines to not require top arm oiling, and we've even Innova's even worked to create a oil-less bobbin sewing hook. So the sewing hook only needs to be have a drop of oil once or twice a day because of the materials of construction that Innova has patented for their sewing hook. Another cleanliness feature of the Innova machines is quite often folks with quilting machines have to spend time cleaning their rails, putting lubricants or coatings on their rails so that the wheels run smoothly. These machines have raised rails. The raised rails versus a rail that might have more of a trough design don't accumulate dirt and debris, things like lint. They stay real clean, your wheels stay clean running on a raised rail. And the wheels are nice and white because they're on a machine that doesn't have any oil leaking out of it to make the wheels dirty. Now this oil that leaks out, quilting creates a lot of lint and dust, and it wouldn't matter whose machine you're working with, there's going to be lint and dust because of the fabrics involved in the threads and the batting. So there's always dust coming off machines, and that's okay. Dust is dry and clean in relative terms. It doesn't damage your quilt. But on the other hand, when you add that oil to the lint, you end up getting like a black sludge, and it gets on the rails and it can end up making this like black grease type substance that can get on a quilt fabric as it drags over these rails as you're loading the fabric. This would be an example of a rail that's like a trough. Behind Justin, who's filming, we also have another example of a rail that's like a trough. And those kind of rails require a considerable amount of effort to keep them clean so you don't feel bumps when you go over them with your wheels, and also just so that you can keep your machine moving fluidly and easily. And you know, as I've just shown, they collect dirt that's not good for your quilting. Now here's another machine that I took in on trade. Came in like this. That came in. You take a look at. It's a nice, pretty machine, but it doesn't have as good a means to oil it as one with top machine oiling that you can take care of yourself, or sealed bearings. This one, the manufacturer's manual says to take it every 6 months to your dealer, where they split the casting in half and then lubricate the interface between the shaft and bushings or bearings, whatever might be in here. So, but they're not sealed. It's a machine that you save initially on. It's less expensive than an Innova or some of the other top-of-the-line machines that require top arm oiling. But gee, you're gonna every 6 months have to lug that out to your car, or if you don't live close to a dealer, put it in a box and ship it and insure it. We've looked into the shipping rates. We were from Paducah, Kentucky. We thought that was near the center of the U.S., but to ship it round trip with insurance, you're looking at $450 without considering the cost of the box to ship it. So how many times do you need to ship it on a 6-month interval to have been able to afford an Innova that you don't need to do any maintenance on, that's preventive on an interval like that? Save some money in the long run and not have to deal with the downtime of not having your machine available by being able to buy a machine that has sealed bearings, doesn't require top arm oiling, it's clean. There's so many advantages to it, and I hope that I've helped you to see those advantages in this video, and will have you consider that as you're making your long arm purchase. Thank you.